Hello, good morning, friends. Myself, Dr. Vinayak. In the physiology, in the previous classes, we are discussing about the enzymes and other topic of the physiology. So that continue with the nutrients uptake by the plants. Already in the previous chapter, we are discussed that the what are the micro and the macronutrient and what is the essential and the non-essential elements. So these whatever the elements minerals that will absorb by the plant through the root from the soil, that how actually conducted in the different part of the plant through the elements. So that's how generally the concept is developed, that is as a uptake of nutrient in the plant. So in this concept, so you'll study the passive absorption, active absorption, ion accumulation, mechanism of ion uptake, antagonism, and the factor affecting on the ion absorption, that you will study in this concept. So first going to the uptake of nutrient by the plant. So what is the nutrient or the minerals, so these are the essential, majority of the time essential element, just like NPK, they are required for the growth and development. So like that the plant is also absorb the minerals from the soil. So then how it will be uptake to the upper part where actually the photosynthesis takes place, how actually it will be conducting. So mineral uptake is a process in which the mineral enter the cellular material by the different pathways, just like a water. Most normal entrance portal of the mineral uptake through the plant root, and whatever the amount of mineral absorbed by the root, that will conduct it through the xylem and enter into the cells. Okay, mineral ion, they will transport across the plasma membrane by the chemoosmotic mechanism. So usually that chemoosmotic mechanism is a very important role in the nutrient uptake of the plant. So plant absorbs the minerals ions like nitrate ions, that's a NO3 minus, or phosphate like just HPO 4 minus, and potassium, that's a K plus. Some of them are negative ions and some of them are positive charged ions. All have difficulty across crossing the charged plasma membrane. So for that, so this is how actually the uptake of nutrient from the plant to the root to the leaf. So usually here the mineral or water, even the carbon dioxide, just the photograph is showing how actually the carbon dioxide mineral will be uptaken. They will due to the transpiration they will be get out. For that mechanism, there are two different mechanism was explained how actually the nutrient uptake in the plant cells in the xylem, that's a passive absorption mechanism and the active absorption mechanism. So this how actually the across the plasma membrane the molecule will be transferred due to the simple diffusion, that's a molecule will be enter or through the carrier concept or through the facilitated diffusion. So like this the usually the passive absorption of the ion will be takes place. It's a passive absorption is nothing but the absorption of minerals without the direct expenditure of the metabolic energy. That means there is no energy involved in this process. So in the passive absorption mechanism, mineral salt absorption is not affected by the temperature and the metabolic inhibitors. So usually the rapid uptake of the ions occurs when the plant tissues are transferred from a medium of lower concentration to the higher concentration. There are various theory to put forward explain this passive mechanism. There are mainly four theories, that's a mass flow theory and the contact exchange theory, carbon acid exchange theory, Donan equilibrium. What is that? First one, mass flow theory, contact exchange theory, carbonic acid exchange theory, Donan equilibrium. All these four theories to explain the passive absorption of the ion will be takes place in the plants. So first go by one theories. The first one is a mass flow theory. According to this theory, the ions absorbed by the root along with the mass flow of water under the effect of the transpiration. That means the whatever the amount of ion absorbed by the root, that will be flow along with the water under the effect of transpiration. But this is actually the basic theory concept of this mass flow theory. Here the mass, the large quantity of the molecules will be transporting, that is explained by the absorption, passive absorption mechanism. But this theory was failed to explain the salt accumulation against the osmotic gradient. So here what he explained, an increasing of the transpiration pull increases of the uptake of the ion by the root. That means uptake of ion by the free diffusion method. Here they emphasize the free diffusion concept. Thus the mass flow of ion through the root tissues occur due to the transpiration pull in the absence of metabolic energy will be takes place. So in the diagram what it shows, so the similar pattern, the absorption of the mineral will be takes place and carry forward to the other. Just this is the root, actually the baseline what is marking root, from the root over the just molecules will be transferred to the leaves due to the just simple theory, that's a transpiration effect. Due to the transpiration the molecules will be move. The next one is contact exchange mechanism. So according to this theory, the ion absorbed on the clay will get absorbed to the root of the exchange for the exchanging of hydrogen ions. That usually what is happens, the root is previously absorbed, then they will transfer from one molecule to the other. Just in the show, the diagram is showing how actually K plus and hydrogen plus ion will be transferring. Ion absorbed on the soil particles oscillated within a small space. When the two particles are close enough, the oscillated spaces of the ion absorbed to the one particle overlap the oscillation space and ion absorbed to the another particle. Thus exchange of ion may takes place. So like this mechanism from the soil, that will be a root hairs, so it will be takes place. This is a one theory. And the next one is a passive absorption by the carbon acid exchange theory. So carbon dioxide plus water, it will turn to the carbonic acid, that's H2CO3. Again it will be separate out into H plus and HCO3 minus. So usually the root, what is the carbon dioxide, that will molecules, and it will be exchange and separate into the H plus and HCO3 ions in the later. That's a carbon acid exchange theory. The soil solution provides the medium of exchange for the ion between the root and the clay materials. So usually here what happens, the carbon dioxide released in the respiration of the root form a carbonic acid by reacting with the water of the soil solution. These carbonic acid then dissolved in the soil solution to form a H plus and HCO3 minus ion to express it. The H plus ions absorb to the clay and exchange for the cations such that the K plus which releases into the soil solution. From here they may diffuse to the root where they may be absorbed in the exchange of H plus ions. So this is how the actually the carbon acid exchange theory explains. Another last one theory, that's a Donan equilibrium. According to his theory, Donan equilibrium says that the cell membrane is composed of macromolecules of the protein and the lipids that have a many carboxylic group, that's a COOH group, and phosphate HPO3 groups also there, from which the positive charged particles like proton of the hydrogen H plus can dissociate, the leaving the macromolecule with the negative charges. Thus the membrane is usually negative charged. The negative charges are not diffusible because they are within the membrane structure. These negatively charged ions on the membrane called fixed ions. The negative charged membrane is called as Donan phase. The negative charged membrane is called as Donan phase. Now suppose that the solution has a potassium chloride, that's a KCl, in the present outside the Donan phase. The cation K plus will tend to the diffuse through the membrane because of the electron potential difference. The cation will finally come into the equilibrium with the fixed negative charges of the membrane. The Cl, the chlorine ions with the negative charges will not move into the cell because of this electronic potential. They can however diffuse by the chemical potential difference or difference of the concentration of the chlorine on both the side of the membrane. Some potassium ions will also move into the cell by chemical potential gradient. The next stage, the chlorine ions which remain outside the membrane will set up an electronic potential difference at the membrane surface, which is the negative. On account of these chlorine ions, they compare to the external solution. The whatever the electronic potential is occurs, that is called as Donan potential. The Donan potential will allow the K plus ions to diffuse through the membrane and replace the chlorine ions. That means the positive ions will replace the negative ion. So like that the Donan equilibrium will be occurs. The exchanging of the positive and the negative mechanism, that's the concentration of positive ions inside that equivalent to the concentration negative ions the outside. Concentration of positive ion outside that equivalent to concentration negative ions the inside. So like that the Donan equilibrium can be occurs, that due to the positive and the negative charges explaining the exchanging of the molecule. So this is how actually Donan equilibrium will be occurs. There are mainly four theories to explain the passive absorption mechanism in the plant. So this is the complete general account of the how actually the mineral and nutrient will uptake in the plant, especially the passive absorption. Here there is no energy, metabolic energy is involved in the transport of the or absorption of the elements will takes place. That is the Donan equilibrium, and also the carbonic theory and contact test theory and the mass flow theory. All these theories will explain the how actually the the passive absorption of the mineral nutrient will be takes place. This is how the actually diagram will simply explain the complete mechanism of the Donan equilibrium and other concept theories to explain the transporting of the minerals in the plant.